This is Lewis Brackpool for Rebel News, and today I'm in Morecambe, which is located in the north part of England, where I'm visiting Matt Catterall, a previous Fight the Fines case. I believe that there is an update on Matt's case, so I'm off to go and have a chat with him. To remind our audiences what Fight the Fines actually is that it's a Rebel News civil liberties project where we connect lockdown victims with the top lawyers of the country at no cost to them, and through crowdfunding donations from you, the viewer. To remind the audience of Matt Catterall's story, I sat down with him and he explained his case. So thank you very much, Matt, for taking the time out for me today.
No problem, Lewis.
I'm here to talk about the Fight the Fines campaign. Now, some of the viewers may remember your case, but for the viewers that haven't seen it, could you go over a bit about what occurred with your case over in Abu Dhabi and Dubai?
Yeah, so basically my son needed an urgent operation that wasn't available on the NHS at the time because of COVID, because it was classed as a non-essential operation. But in his life it was classed as essential. You know, he needed it doing, it was causing discomfort and basically a nuisance to his life. So we looked at going down the private route here in England, which wasn't possible until he was 16 because of how evasive the surgery was. Right. So we looked at options to take him abroad through recommendation actually from a private doctor here in England. He said, have you looked at, you know, going abroad for this? So that's what we did. I found an incredible doctor, an Italian doctor in Dubai, who had two practices, one in Dubai, one in Abu Dhabi. We chose to use the one in Abu Dhabi. The operation went very well, it was successful, it's changed his life, and upon landing back in Manchester, everything took a turn for the worse. We'd had no problems with any of the airports along the way until we landed back in Manchester. And we were held in a holding room for 6.5 hours with no access to medication, no access to food, basically treated like criminals because we'd gone abroad for an operation for my son. We had all the relevant paperwork that we needed, and on the government website at the time you could either travel for medical reasons or for work, which is what we did.
So you followed the guidelines completely?
We followed the guidelines completely. When we landed at the interconnecting airport, which was Paris, we purchased the 2-stage COVID test kit for both of us, as you're supposed to do, which was then sent special delivery to the house. And we did the testing as you're supposed to, day 2, day 8. But they refused to let us go home and sent us down to Birmingham to a Holiday Inn, which was a 2-hour drive inside a taxi. Right. Having travelled for around about 16 hours, then being held in a room for 6 hours, then put on a 2-hour taxi ride down to Birmingham. We were told that there was sufficient medical treatment at the hotel for Lewis to have his bandages changed, which needed to be done every 24 hours. We got there and the nurse was actually under the influence of alcohol. Right. So he couldn't attend to Lewis that evening. So we had to wait till the following morning. We didn't have any access to clothes, medication, nothing, because the airline lost our baggage.
Was that one thing after the other?
It was just one thing after another. And then in the morning the nurse came in to the room. So I asked him 2 questions. I said, were you drinking alcohol last night? And he said, yeah, I'm entitled to because my shift finished at 10 o'clock. And I said, yeah, but we were promised that there would be somebody here to change his dressings straight away. I said, because he'd been travelling for nearly 24 hours by the time we got here. I said, so you've now made him wait till the following morning. I said, and to be honest, I can smell alcohol on you. I said, so I don't want you going anywhere near him. No. I said, and the second question is the COVID in this hotel? And he said, well, yeah, we've got a couple of cases. And I said, and are you going into their bedrooms? And he said, well, yeah, if they need medical care. I said, well, you're not going anywhere near him then. I said, nowhere in the world would you put a child who's just had an operation on a COVID ward in a hospital. I said, so why do you think it's acceptable that he should be in a COVID hotel? That we can't leave the room and be held here for 10 days. So I rang an ambulance and we were taken to hospital. Sure. We got all the medication we needed. Lewis got his bandages changed. There was 2 security guards sat outside our cubicle, basically making us feel like prisoners. So I rang my wife and asked her to come and collect us from Birmingham to bring us home. And my solicitor spoke to the 2 security guards and obviously read out the rights that they couldn't detain us or whatever, which was most useful because then it sort of cleared my mind that we could get in the car and we could get home. Sure. And then what we did was we put a sign on the front door to say that we were isolating for 10 days. We did the test kits as we were supposed to do the test kits. The police came that evening that we arrived home from Lancaster police station. They banged on the door. It was 2 female officers. They were very, very polite. They just said that we want to come in and have a talk to you. We're not trying to trick you. We're not going to arrest you or anything. So I went through all my paperwork with them and they both agreed that basically it was absolutely ridiculous that Border Force Control were trying to enforce this. Sure. Because they wanted us to go back to Birmingham to the Holiday Inn, which was the COVID hotel. And they went away and they were happy. 2 nights later, Birmingham police turned up at the door wanting to arrest me and take me back. And I said, well, I'm isolating in my own house. I'm not leaving. I said, that could potentially put others at risk. So I'm going to stay in my own house and isolate. My wife had stayed out of work. She'd isolated with us. My daughter had come out of school. The school had sent some work home for her to do. So we were all in the house, isolating together, doing as we should do.
Following the rules.
Following the rules. And they sent several fines through the post, which obviously I refused to pay. And it was amounting figures well over £10,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, so we refused to pay those, and now we're in a situation where we're in court.
Not long after this interview was filmed, we actually got an update from Matt Catterall's lawyer, who gave us some very positive news about his case.
There's been a very positive update, which is that the prosecution have dropped all charges against Matthew. This followed submissions from us at an earlier hearing, and then detailed submissions in writing setting out in detail what his defence was and why he had certain rights under the European Convention for Human Rights, which would form part of his defence, and why in the circumstances it was reasonable for him to leave a COVID hotel in order to protect his son, who would just been through an operation. Having received those representations, they were reviewed by the prosecution. They've dropped all the charges. So he's very relieved. I know he's been very grateful for your support, and his family are really delighted it was the right outcome.
So there you have it, another successful Fight the Fines campaign where Matt Catterall and his family can now just move on from these unjust fines. And they couldn't have done this without the backing and the support from you, the Rebel News viewers, with all the donations and the support in general. And you can still help support Rebel News over at ukreporters.co.uk. So once again, this has been Lewis Brackpool reporting for Rebel News.